everybody, I'm Stacy.
And I'm her daughter, Mickey.
And welcome to KiddieNomics! Yay! We have another edition of Kids Financial Literacy Fridays. I am so happy everybody could join. So before we get into our uber special guest today, I'm going to share our screen as usual. One moment. There we go. Can everybody see the screen? Yes, I think you can. All right, perfect. All right, welcome to KiddieNomics, right?
Yeah.
Another fun-filled Friday of financial literacy learning. We'd like to always, as usual, thank all of the new kiddies that are joining today. We know that there has been a lot of sign-ups in the last week, so thank you for all the new kiddies that are joining KiddieNomics today. And then, of course, we would like to thank all of the returning kiddies that have been here week after week. So we'd like to thank you so much for always joining us every Friday now at 5 p.m. So thank you so much. So what is KiddieNomics, right? What is KiddieNomics? KiddieNomics is here to help kids ages 8+ to develop a healthy relationship towards financial literacy, helping to start kids off on the right path to have a successful financial future. That's what we want for you, and that's why we're here week after week to teach you a new financial literacy skill. So what is that skill today? What are we going to learn today? What are we learning today? Today we're learning all about job preparation. So when a couple of weeks, well, actually a couple of months ago now, we had Miss Jen on KiddieNomics, and she talked about resume writing, right? So this week we're going to talk about once you get the call back to get a job and they need you to come in for an interview, we're going to talk about job interview preparation. So this is going to be a fun topic. But before we introduce our special guest, of course, I just like to do some housekeeping items. So first off, we cannot see or hear any of the kiddies, right? So the only way for you guys to communicate is to talk to us in the chat box down below. So you have to type any of your questions, or when you're answering anything, type it in the chat box down below. Now, I understand that a lot of the times that you guys may raise your hand. That's fine. If you raise your hand, still type the question in the chat box down below, because that's the only way that we're going to know why you're raising your hand, right?
Yeah.
Right. And then the other really important thing that we like to remind all kiddies on KiddieNomics is to please make sure you keep all of your information private. So remember, like a month ago or a month and a half ago, we talked about online money smarts, and we talked about, right? We talked about fraud, and we talked about all that stuff, and how important it is to make sure that you keep all of your information private. So in the chat box, I know a lot of the times we've now built a really good community, and a lot of the kids know each other by name, that you guys see the familiar names. Please make sure that you don't put any personal information in the chat box, okay? And try to keep the chat box open to answer questions, because I monitor the chat box, and I need to see who's answering questions and things like that, okay? So let's get into our topic for today. All right, this week we have Miss Jane Janniere. She is the director of Higher Altitude, which I really love the play on word. So she's a veteran career and interview coach with just over 20 years of experience. Prior to starting her own boutique staffing firm, Jane worked for the largest global specialized staffing agency for 17 years in various, that is a lot, right? In various management capacities. She is the founding CEO of her boutique staffing agency, Higher Altitude. Her Higher Altitude is a boutique staffing firm that specializes in the placement of accounting, finance, cybersecurity, and information security professionals on a full-time basis. Jane is also passionate and has a special interest in working and representing women and youth of color to help them overcome the barriers they may face when trying to advance themselves in the workplace and workforce. So let's give a big KiddieNomics welcome. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. There you are, yay! And over over to you.
Hey, everybody. Bless you.
Oh, goodness. Sorry.
Thank you so much for that fantastic introduction, Stacy and Mickey. Really, really appreciate being here. Love coming out to meet and speak to all the kiddies about the work that I love doing every single day. So I'm going to turn on my screen. I'm going to share my screen. And I'm going to jump right in. Just 1 second. Okay. Oh, here we go. All right. So Miss Stacy already gave me a really good introduction. And like I mentioned, I love coming to KiddieNomics and talking about all things jobs, resumes, careers. And today we're going to talk about interviews. All right. So this is somebody that you've seen here on the screen. Jane Janniere. And who is Jane Janniere? So like Stacy mentioned, I'm a recruiter. So I help individuals find jobs, and I introduced people to my clients or to the employer and help them find opportunities. I'm a staffing specialist. I help people with their careers as a career coach. I'm the business owner of Higher Altitude Inc. And I'm also, most importantly, a mom, an auntie, a sister, and friend. And I'm very much an auntie to a very special young lady that might be here, and her name is Maya, one of my favorite little girls. So today's session, we're going to talk a little bit about what is an interview, what is the purpose of an interview, what do you need to do to prepare for your interview, and what is required to prepare for an interview. Okay, so those are going to be the topics. So if anybody, now everybody needs to participate, and so I know Miss Stacy will be answering the chat, but is there anybody in the group that can tell me what an interview is?
Oh, Mickey's raised her hand. So Mickey, what's an interview?
An interview is one, like, when you get like a job and you come for an interview to like get to know you and then see if you get the job.
So she says when you get a job or when they call you for a job and they call you to get to know you to get the job.
Yeah, like it.
So let's see what does everybody else say in the chat. Let's see. Joel, a talk. So Joel says a talk to help you get the right job. Good one. Egypt says a way for an employer to get to know you and how you work and your experience. Ooh, Egypt, that's good.
That's
There you I see you raised your hand. You have to type your question into the chat box.
Okay, anybody else?
Let's see, is anybody else going to answer what's an interview? Oh, Renata says answering questions about yourself. Very good.
Excellent.
Julie says, oh, that's Madeline. Madeline says, I don't know.
And some people really don't know. So let's see if we can find out. And where is my cursor?
I can see it. You're moving it around.
No, I can't find the, oh, there you go. Okay, so an interview is a face-to-face meeting and a gentle conversation between two people. Now, sometimes, depending on the position, it could actually be 3 people. And sometimes that feels a little bit scary, but if you really know your stuff, you'll be just fine. Okay, so who can tell me why somebody would need to go for an interview? And I think a couple of people mentioned it already, didn't they, Miss Stacy?
Yes, I think Egypt mentioned why. And then she says they sometimes get calls over the phone. That's right, to do an interview.
Right.
Maya says to get a job.
Right.
And then Paulette says so you can get a good job. I love that one.
Good job. But what other reasons? You know, it is mostly for jobs, but could it be for something else too?
Could an interview happen for something else?
Mhm.
Let's see. Renata says school.
Yeah.
Yes.
JW says to get money. Egypt says an interview is to know whether you should be employed or not. Suli says, oh, that's Madeline. Madeline says interviewing famous people for work. That's a good one, right?
Good one.
Rinku says recommendations.
Dancer.
Maya said, oh, dancer?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Maya says to interview of a celebrity.
So
Okay.
like
All of the above. But what's interesting, can somebody tell me what's interesting about this picture, especially right now during these times? About interviewing? Can someone tell me what they noticed about this picture that might be a little bit different in today's, with what's happening today in the world? Mickey.
people like meeting at places and sitting down and getting to know each other
Right. And why wouldn't that happen right now?
because people are getting coronavirus.
Right, because of coronavirus. So that's one of the biggest changes right now that I've seen as a recruiter and somebody that even interviews for my company. I am no longer meeting people face to face for interviews. So really, really good observation. All right, so here we are, right? So we can have an interview to either find a job or a position or to volunteer, right? We have to remember that even volunteering for your church, for a hospital, at your school, still will require an interview. Okay, right? So we have people that are in the library. We have somebody maybe doing some babysitting. They would have had to do an interview. Somebody working at a hardware store. All right. Now, who can tell me what the purpose of an interview is? And I think we've already talked a little bit about that, right? We talked about for getting a job. Some people said to get money, but most importantly is for the one person to get another person, to get to know another person by asking questions. Now, I have a question and I want to see some yeses or nos in the chat. How many of you have heard by your parents or your grandparents or uncles and aunties or sisters or brothers, they've said to you, stop showing off. You're always showing off. Who has heard that? That you should not show off, don't brag, don't be too much. How many people in the chat have heard that you should not be showing off?
Oh my goodness, look at all the kids. So Giovanni, yep. Egypt, I have. Sue Lee, that's Madison, or Madeline, sorry. I heard it. Adonis, yes. Renata, me. Yep, all the kids. Joel, Amiga. Oh, Amiga says no. That's good. Chanel says never.
Okay, okay.
Gloria says yes. Michaela's raised her hands.
Miss Stacy, are you telling Mickey not to show off?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so we have this running joke in our house that when Mickey says that she wants us to watch TV, what she really wants is for me to watch her watch the TV, because Mickey always wants my attention. She's always doing like a TikTok dance and like, and there's always a story, and so we never get through like an actual show because she wants me to watch her watch the TV.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And does anybody have any, okay, so we'll get to the next step. It's about showing off, okay? So before we start to show off, and we want to know what we're going to be showing off, what types of questions would you ask somebody if you were going to hire them? So if you were going to hire somebody and you wanted to know something about them, what types of questions would you be asking an individual if you were going to be hiring them to, let's say you wanted someone to help you put away the laundry, what types of questions would you want to know from an individual if you were interviewing them? Or if you wanted somebody to read your brother or sister a book, if you wanted somebody to babysit because you were going away on a school trip, what kinds of questions would you ask an individual?
So we have a whole bunch of questions.
Okay.
Do you need help? Okay. So Rinku says, did you complete school? That's a really good question. Renata says, what can you do? That's a good one. Yeah. Where are you from? What's your career plan? Ooh, that's good. Wow. Will you make it to work on time? Oh, I love that one.
I love
that. Egypt, you ask about their experience. JW says, do you really want this job? Yeah.
I think some of these kids can come and work for me as a recruiter.
Right? They're very good. Renata says, have you done this before? Rinku, if you are responsible. Maya, what are your skills? Giovanni, what's your experience? Have you done laundry before? How much money do I have to pay you? That's a good one. Madeline, how much money do I have to pay you? So we have, what are they good at? How many an hour did you graduate from Adonis? Mickey has one.
Okay.
What was it again?
Okay.
Oh no, I remember. Have you worked, did you have a job before?
Did you have a job before? So what's your experience?
What's your experience? Like, fantastic. So when you're going to interview someone, it's almost like being an investigator, because you really, really, really want to find out what is it that you can do, but most importantly, what can you do very well? And this is when you are being interviewed, this is your time to show off. Sorry, hold on. Right, so let's talk about the preparation. And the preparation for showing off is so, so important, because there's a way that we show off. We don't show off to be rude. We don't show off to pretend or to be a know-it-all, but we show off our skills and our strengths and all the things that we're good at, so we can demonstrate that we are suitable for the position that we're asking for or that we're interested in. Again, it could be at school, it could be at church, it could be at a recreation center, it can be at home. You could actually apply for work at home with your parents. Did you know that? You could actually ask your parents, can I have a job of folding laundry? Can I have a job of doing the dishes? Who thinks that that's a great idea?
Well, JW says, why do I want this job? Rinku says yes. He says yes, chores. Chanel says yes. Maya says yes. Yeah.
Right? So if you were in my last segment, we didn't speak about it in the terms of showing off, but we spoke about it in a different way. Does anybody remember the magic words that I discussed the last time, where this time it's about showing off and talking about you? This is all part of the preparation. Does anybody remember?
Oh, look at that. Maya says superpowers.
Oh, Maya. Fabulous. She remembered. That's why she's one of my favorites. Okay. So we spoke about superpowers, and superpowers is telling the person that's interviewing you what you are really good at. And I know, Mickey, you remembered that too. I could see it was just on the tip of your tongue. All right. So what I want you to do, if you have a pen and paper, or if you just want to put it in the chat, tell the group and myself 3 things, or just even one, if for time's sake, 3 things that you're really, really good at. What are your superpowers that you're going to speak to your potential boss? What are you going to say about yourself?
So Egypt says babysitting, writing stories, and cooking. Maya says helping. Darius says math. Awesome. JW says singing, talking, and being funny. I love that. He's a comedian. Darius says science. Giovanni says playing music. Rinku says baking. Joel says running, playing soccer, writing stories.
Excellent.
Superpowers for Madeline is drawing, dancing, writing. Marsha, Marsha, I missed you. Marsha, gaming, and Jonah. What's that? Is that a game? Is Jonah a game, or is that, I don't know.
Okay, those are fantastic. So here's the thing. I remember a long time ago, I had a lot of things that I did really, really well. But guess what happened? I went for an interview and the manager said, or the boss said to me, I said, oh, I'm really good at dancing. I'm really good at skating. I'm really good at baking. I love helping my family. And you know what the manager said to me? So what? And I felt really, really sad. They said, so what if you can do all of that? And I realized that I was not prepared. And the reason why I wasn't prepared was because I didn't have any examples to justify or to explain why I was good at those things. So I was a little bit stuck. So I want to help you not only be able to identify what your superpower is, but to be able to say, why is it your superpower? So somebody mentioned baking. Tell us in the group why baking is your superpower and how you know it is your superpower. Somebody mentioned helping. Tell me why helping is your superpower. Or music. And I know there was some others. So tell me why, and tell the group why that is your superpower.
So what's your superpower and why?
My superpower is...
You got to speak louder so they can hear you.
My superpower is sports, playing video games, and
so why is sports your superpower?
Mm-hmm.
Really quickly.
Because I like playing them, and when I play them, they make me feel like I can be something one day.
Okay.
That's a really good one.
Yeah, that is a good one. And okay, yeah. And remember to think of it this way. Here's another little secret. Whenever you're going to help someone, or whenever you are helping anybody if you apply for a role in the library, the school, anywhere, you're a problem solver. So you have to be able to relate, how does helping or baking or playing sports or playing an instrument, if you were to find a job where you were using those skills, how does that solve the manager's problem? And this is part of the preparation. This is the biggest part, and it's very grown up. And if you can do that and start practicing that now, I promise you will get every job you apply for, or almost every one. Right? Okay. So not only are you going to say why you're good at it, but how does it help? So for instance, the person who said they love to bake, they're a really good baker. Tell us why you like to bake, why you're good at it, and let's pretend that you were going into an environment where you were going to be a scientist. Why would baking be an important skill to have as a scientist, just as an example?
So Egypt had answered baking. So she said, baking is my superpower because I love it and I can bake multiple things. Pizza, roti, cinnamon rolls, all from scratch. Let's see if she answered the rest of that question to you. Sorry, kids, I know you guys have all answered a lot of stuff in here. You guys are so great, always participating. I'll wait for everything reacts to everything in its own way. Okay, let me just see. Let me see. Egypt hasn't answered back yet, but we have, you guys typed a lot. Let me see. Paulette says, math is my superpower because I'm so good at it.
Excellent. How is that going to help if someone hired you as a tutor to help other students, for example?
Oh, let's see. Rinku answered the question for baking. So baking involves chemistry.
Excellent.
Science position. That's awesome, Rinku. You tied it together.
Excellent. Excellent.
That's awesome.
What about the person that just mentioned, who just said something just a few minutes ago? They were good.
Oh, yeah. I just read math.
They were good at math.
Math is my superpower because I'm so good at it. And that was from Paulette.
Can I read one?
Okay. And so Paulette, tell us how your math strengths and loving math would help. How could you help somebody who's not so great at math? Why is your superpower good? How can that help somebody? How can that solve somebody else's problem? Anybody else? Did anybody else have any answers in the group while we wait for Paulette's response?
So Egypt wrote back, baking would not be good for scientists because you're not allowed to have food in the lab, but it involves chemistry, so you'll be good.
That's right. You have to put things together and see what happens to them, especially in chemistry, right?
Yes.
Science and math always go hand in hand. So does music and math too.
What's your
Most
music?
people who are really good at music are really good at math as well. Does anybody else have any other superpower connections with how they'll solve problems?
Mickey has an answer.
Michaela?
About video games?
Yeah, about video games and my last superpower is helping people because I want to be a doctor one day.
You have
Oh,
to talk louder so the kids can hear you.
that's a good one.
And I like helping people because I want to be a doctor one day.
Excellent.
And I like playing video games because I feel like sometimes when I play them, it makes me feel like that sometimes video games can be in real life because you never know what you can learn from them. Like you should never give up in them and reach to your goal.
Right, because you know what? Sometimes video games challenge you. So you get to one level, and that means you've mastered that level, and then you can keep going, getting higher and higher and higher results and better results without giving up. So that means that you're a real, you love a challenge, right, Michaela?
Yep.
You love challenges. Awesome. Does anybody else have anything to share? Did Paulette come back to us?
Darius says science and math. I think he's talking about Michaela's video game. So how does that relate? And that would be science and math. Paulette hasn't answered back yet. Oh wait, Paulette. It will help me so I can help those in need. What was your math, right? Math
yeah.
is your superpower.
Really good at math. So you can definitely help others whose weakness might be in math, right? So you're helping somebody else solve their problem.
Oh, Giovanni had a really nice one. Plus, you're playing video games with friends. It builds teamwork.
Well, you know what? That's a really good point, Giovanni, because teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Yes, it does.
So if you're not a good team player in a work environment, then sometimes employers would say, you know what, I'll find somebody else that does get along with other people, because everybody wants to have a really good working environment. And part of a good working environment is having a really good positive attitude. And maybe we'll talk about that in another segment sometime. But your attitude and teamwork does go a very, very long way. So thank you for mentioning that, Giovanni.
And Marcia says, Giovanni and Marcia, awesome. Marcia says, video games help your strategic skills. They do.
Absolutely. Absolutely, for sure. All right. So what about, one of the things that we haven't spoken about yet is about, on top of preparation, is so we know that we have to have our superpowers. We know that we're going to meet individuals probably virtually, like on a Zoom meeting like this. We know that we need to be able to explain what our skills are and our strengths and our superpowers. How else do we prepare for an interview? What else would you need to do?
What else do you have to do to prepare for an interview?
You have to make sure like if you want, so let's say like if you want like you want to play soccer. You have to know how to play soccer. Like if you want to be in a like an actual soccer game, you have to know how to play soccer and practice every time and know like what you need in soccer, know what happens in soccer and what other scores.
Understand it, yeah. You need to understand the sport. So that's a good point. You need to understand the position that you're applying for. I agree with you. I didn't even think of that, Michaela. Very good. Yes, that's probably one of the most important things, is that you need to understand the role or the position that you're applying for. So excellent. What else? How else are you going to prepare for the interview? Let's think the night before the interview. What do you think you should prepare?
So Maya says, plan what you're going to say.
Plan what you're going to say. Absolutely. These guys can come and work for me anytime. Anytime you're ready, when you graduate from university, come on down and work for Jane Higher Altitude. Yes, plan what you're going to say.
You guys have a job placement.
I'm only gonna work for you if you owe me money.
If you owe me or pay me?
Pay me.
Okay.
I'll pay you.
Funny. So funny. They're all saying that. There's a, how much do you pay?
Because soon you're going to be.
That's a confidential conversation that we'll have to have after your interview, after your successful interview.
That's right. So what else do you need to do to prepare for your interview?
Maya was absolutely 100% correct. You have to plan what you're going to say. If you don't plan what you're going to say, you're not going to be successful, because the interviewer, like me, if I was interviewing you, I would be that investigator and I have a lot of questions. So your job is to try to plan what you think the interviewer may ask you, and they will ask you for examples. They're called behavioral questions. Like, for instance, they might say, so tell me about a time when you didn't make up your bed and your parents weren't happy, and what did you do? Right? So you would have to give an example of a time when you didn't do something, or they might say to you, tell me about the time when you got an excellent grade on your math test, and what did you do to maintain such great grades? You will have to provide examples like how you study, talk about how disciplined you are with getting home from school and doing your homework, maybe while playing sports. So you'll have to give examples. So planning what you're going to say, even writing it down, is extremely important the night before an interview. But there's one more thing that sometimes people take for granted. And as a recruiter, this is something that I see sometimes that doesn't make me very happy, but we talk about it. I do speak about it with all the candidates. And this is the one thing that is so also very much important that you should do from the night before. Does anybody know?
So going back to the chat, the kids have been answering a couple of your questions. So what Giovanni says, make sure your clothes are pressed.
Wow. Giovanni, you are so on point. So let me see. Would you get dressed like this to go for an interview? Oh, we talked about examples already. Who would dress like this for their interview coming up they have an interview on October 31st. Who's going to dress like this for their interview?
If it's on Halloween.
Oh. So the kids are saying, no, not me, never, never, never. Giovanni says definitely.
See, someone agrees.
And it really does depend on the position that you're applying for, right? But most times you would not be dressed this way for an interview. So I think it was somebody mentioned about, Giovanni mentioned about pressing your clothes. I love that. And being ultra prepared. So being prepared for an interview means, yes, you're going to have a very sharp suit and tie if you're a gentleman. Dress pants. Your shirt must be pressed and ironed 100%. If you are a female or a girl, you would want to wear also either very nice pants, you'd want to wear a very nice skirt or dress, very simple jewelry, hair tied back, so it's not getting in the way, so that they can see you. Because if I went for an interview today, I probably wouldn't go with all this crazy hair. I probably would want to tie it back so it's less distracting. And I would always want to wear very simple but nice clothing, simple jewelry, nothing too much, no really big earrings, just simple, so that the interviewer is paying attention to what I have to say. It's always important to bring all of your documents, like your marks, your diploma, if you graduated from high school or university, or even from grade 8, to show that you've had a successful completion, any awards that you've won, right? Because like the little magnifying glass, the investigator is always looking and wanting to make sure that you're going to be the right person for the job. Any questions? You guys have been so great. Michaela.
It's not a question, but it's just one thing that you need for an interview. So make sure you always have your coffee with you.
Make sure you always have what?
Your coffee.
Your coffee. Well, you probably don't want to be drinking coffee during the interview, but you definitely want to be, maybe have a coffee before the interview, because it might relax you, right? And there's one other little thing that I have to mention too. Is there any more questions in the chat?
Let me just see. Some of the answers to that question was, okay, so let me just see it. I remember saying, take a shower and brush your teeth.
Yes. Yes.
A lot of men do not pull up their pants. So I guess make sure you pull up your pants, boys.
Yeah. You know what, guys? I'm going to tell you something. There's two things that do not go very well with employers, you know, and we still live in a very judgmental society. And people, when you meet somebody for the first time, you get an impression. And so does everybody else. So it's important to always bring your best foot forward. And if you feel that when you're standing in front of the mirror and you think, I don't know if I should wear that, even if you're just going to work, you should say, you know what, I'm not going to wear it. It's probably not the right thing to wear. If you even get that little thought in your mind, should I? You probably should not. And wear something that you don't have to second guess or think about. And make sure that you're just, you know, presentable and professional for every job interview.
So let me see. There's a lot of answers in here.
Okay.
Okay, a lot of it is about dress. So yeah. Rinka says, don't dress like a rapper. Adonna says hygiene. Always look professional. Dress professionally. Outfit.
Dress for success. Dress for success, and you'll never go wrong. Yeah.
Egypt says, what about headbands? If they aren't too flashy, they should be okay, right?
If they're not too flashy, and again, if you look in the mirror, you have to judge yourself. Most importantly, you have to know what's comfortable for you, right? So if you think it's a little flashy, then probably don't wear it, right? Just keep things very neutral. Just keep it very neutral. And it also depends on the type of position that you're applying for, right? But you always, even if you were doing landscaping and you were meeting the boss for an interview, you wouldn't show up in jeans and a golf shirt. You should always wear a dress shirt or dress pants or a blouse. You should always look the same for every interview. And that's professional. You should always present professionally. Yes.
Are there certain colors that you should wear or not wear to an interview?
Yeah, I think that, you know what, always what works well is navy blues and black with a white blouse. And again, like simple jewelry, a simple tie, unless you're in the fashion industry. And even still then, but let's just say you were in the fashion industry and your dress code says you've got to be fashionable. And sometimes being fashionable is very, very outrageous at times, or very bright colors. But you also want to wear colors that complement you for any position. But depending on the role, it's safe. The safest thing to do is, a dark suit and a simple white or cream blouse or shirt.
Mickey has a question.
Okay, so what happens if you don't have any like black suits or black dresses or any fancy clothes, but just plain clothes to go out or to stay in?
That's a good question too. You know what? You just do your best. Most people have something neutral in their closet. So you don't have to go out and spend a lot of money on clothing if you don't have it, but you just have to present your best. And if you present yourself in the best way possible, that's what people will see, right?
I did have one question here. I can't find it, but I know somebody had asked, can girls wear suits?
Yes, you can.
Oh, here it is, Maya. It was Maya. Maya, can a girl wear a suit?
Yes, absolutely you can wear a suit. You can wear a skirt suit, so you can wear a skirt that has a matching jacket. That's still considered a suit. Women can still wear, and girls can still wear dress pants that has a matching jacket, or a jacket that doesn't match. The same thing like what guys do. Sometimes men or young men wear, a dark pant and they wear like a tweed jacket or something a little bit different, but it all matches and goes together. So yes, women can definitely wear suits.
Awesome. Let me see. The kids are talking about what you should and should not wear and what colors.
Oh,
but all good.
Sorry. What colors? Yeah, I would say whatever colors you feel.
They said, like Darius said, never wear pink.
Well, it depends, Darius.
Or neon. Never wear neon, he says.
Yeah, probably not a neon color, right? Something neutral, but you can wear a light pink. You could even wear a dark pink if it all is complementary, right? If it complements you and that's your color, why shouldn't you wear it? You should wear it, right? You should wear whatever you want to wear, but as long as you are dressed professionally, that is really the key, right? So it's not clothes that you would wear to the club, right? It's not stuff that you're gonna wear at the soccer pitch. It's not clothes that you're wearing at your dance recital. It's clothes that represent you well for the job that you're applying for. Any other questions? Any other thoughts?
I have a question.
Yes.
How do you, in a job interview, when they ask you something negative, how do you turn that into a positive thing? Answer. Sure.
A positive answer. So taking a negative situation and making it positive. I think if the negative situation is, and it's really tough sometimes, I'll tell you this though, honesty will always be your best policy, okay? But if you have a negative situation, be honest about it, but the way you turn that around is telling what you learned and what you're doing about it so that you can improve for the next time, right? You want to be able to show that you've learned from a mistake that you might have made. We're not perfect people. Nobody's perfect. We are going to make mistakes. And fair people and fair managers and fair bosses understand that nobody is perfect. So it's best to be honest, to say, you know what, I made a mistake. Yes, I did, but here's what I did learn from that mistake. And here's how I'm going to improve. And this is what I have put in place so that that mistake will not happen again. And you know what? A manager would say, that was very honest of Miss Stacy. I really appreciate her integrity. I really appreciate her, her openness and being honest about the situation. And it looks like she's somebody who has learned. You know what? I would give Stacy a chance. Versus the person who, when the client or the employer or manager says, have you ever made a mistake? Oh no, I've never made a mistake. I'm perfect. They won't believe you. They have enough experience as a manager to know that people are human beings and we make mistakes, but they want to see if you're going to be honest about it. Even parents Parents are your first managers, and they're helping you to develop to be good people. So it's always important to have integrity and honesty and open communication, because this is where you practice your communication skills. This is where you practice who you're going to be in the world when you leave your home. So it's a safe place being at home to practice with your parents how you're going to show up in the world when your parents are not with you.
That's a really good one.
Okay, so is there any other questions? You guys have been so great. The participation is always amazing at KiddieNomics. I love it.
Yes, the KiddieNomics kitties are always very good at active participation, and that's what we encourage, right? Yeah. On KiddieNomics, always asking questions. I do have one last question before we do wrap up. So what would you say is probably the #1 question that an interviewer always asks during an interview?
Sorry, we missed that. Thank you, Miss Stacy. The #1 question that people find the hardest, are you ready? Drum roll. Is tell me about yourself.
Yes.
Okay, so does anybody know, do we have enough time, Miss Stacy? Just 2 more minutes to talk about how somebody would answer, tell me about yourself. What are the things that you would say? Michaela, really quick, tell me one thing you would say.
I would say that I am really good at playing sports and that I can help people when they make a mistake.
Okay. Anybody else real quick?
Let me see in the chat. Experience, values, achievements. JW says, I'm good at talking.
Okay.
That's good.
I'm not that good.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you guys something really quickly. The question is, tell me about yourself. Okay? So I'll tell you what some people do that is not necessarily, and this is just my opinion, I want to say that, but the way that question needs to be answered is, tell me about yourself. And what people do, especially after they've had lots of years of experience, they start talking about all of their work experience. And then you don't leave anything for the manager to ask you about your previous work because you told them all about yourself. But that's not the answer. The answer is, you can say, you know what, I am from Mississauga or Toronto, or I went to university, or I went to college here, I went to school here. I love playing soccer, and I ended up being a scientist because when I was growing up, I was really, really good at baking, and I found math to be very easy and science to be very easy. And now I'm in this role as a scientist because of all of those accomplishments. Something very simple that just says a little bit about who you are, why you're in the position, and you can speak about something that you're passionate about. Because at the end of the day, people are hiring people, right? And they want to make a human connection. I know this might be getting a little bit grown up, but people want to know who you are. When I meet people, whether they're 2 years old or 10 years old or 25 years old or 40 years old, I want to know who they are, how they tick, what do they like, what are their interests. You're not your job. And you guys have to know that you'll never be your job. You are still a human being who has interests, who has a life outside of what you do. And sometimes you can share, not all of it, but a little bit of it with, tell me about yourself.
That's a really good one.
I have a quick question.
Okay, Mickey has a really quick question.
Okay, so when we were talking about all the information in the credit card, like all your codes and stuff, do you have to share that with the person who's hiring you?
So we talked about online money smarts and always keeping your information private. So she wants to know what information, like for example, your credit card, do you have to share that with your employer?
No, you never share those types of private things with your employer. You don't share your family business with your employer. Anything that's personal, you do not share that with your employer. Credit cards, financial information, personal family details that only belong in your family do not get shared with an employer. In fact, it's not appropriate for them to ask you. Anything that makes you feel uncomfortable, you don't have to answer. Okay, so no, they cannot ask you about confidential or private information. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Right? Okay. Well, that was wonderful.
Yes.
I think these kiddies can now go out if they're looking for employment during next summer or whatever the case may be. They should be well prepared to answer and be prepared for a job interview, right? So
fabulous.
Thank you,
if you need help, if you need help with interviews, if you're in high school and your parents allow you to reach out, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. If you're on LinkedIn, which is another segment that I'm sure we'll have later on, or on Instagram at Jane the Career Coach. I just changed it. Jane the Career Coach on Instagram. Okay.
Yay! That was awesome. All righty, so we're gonna wrap up really quickly.
Yeah.
Miss Jane, if you could stop sharing your screen and then I will share mine. Let me see here. Egypt, are you doing the Fresh Prince song? That's funny. 1 second. Okay. All righty. Here we go. All right. Last question. What would happen if kids became more financially literate?
And our answer is real change that impacts the world.
Real change that impacts the world. We ask this question on every KiddieNomics webinar because we want you guys to understand the real impact of learning financial literacy. The more financially literate that you become, and as you grow into your adulthood and as you get older and you start making different choices and decisions, the more financially literate that you become, the better successful financial outcome that you will have, because you'll be educated to know what is the right way to handle money, or the right way that will better help you in your life. To make sure that finances is just not something that's going to hold you back in anything that you want to do, whether or not it's going to, cure cancer or, skydive. It doesn't matter what it is. Finances, we don't want finances to be something that will hold you back in life. And it could be something that can really, really change the world. So we're really happy to have this platform for all the kiddies out there, okay? All right. Coming up, our weekly schedule, so coming up for the upcoming weeks, we have Mr. Andrew Day. He's coming up next week, and we're going to be talking about digital marketing for kids. So, Amiga, I see that you've been raising your hand. Can you type it in the chat box? And I'll try to get to it. Sorry, excuse me. So we're going to be talking about digital marketing. So remember, we've been talking about entrepreneurship, and then we talked about branding. Well, now we're going to talk about digital marketing. So how are you going to advertise all you kiddiepreneurs out there that are starting your businesses, whether or not it's a comic book series, or you're starting your own lip gloss line, or your own t-shirt business, or a lemonade stand? You got to know digital marketing and where you're going to advertise your business. Is it going to be on Facebook? Is it going to be on TikTok or Instagram? Or what should you do, right? So that's what we're going to be talking about next week. Then the following 2 weeks, we have Mr. Joran. He's going to be talking about a brand new concept called Bitcoins. Yeah, this is
Miss Casey. Some people are saying they can't see the screen.
Oh, you can't.
See the black screen.
Oh no, hold on. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing. Thank you. Sometimes I can't see the questions. All right, hold on. Let me do it again. Can you guys see the screen now?
I can, yeah.
Can you see the screen? Yeah. Can you watch the box? Can the kids see it? Did they say yes?
Yeah, they're saying yes now. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Sorry about that. Okay, so I'll go back. Mr. Andrew Day is going to talk about digital marketing. That is for next week, Friday, October 9th. And then for the next 2 weeks, Friday, October 16th and Friday, October 23rd, we are going to be with Mr. Joran, and he's going to talk to us about Bitcoins. And this is all about digital currency. So in a world that is going to be paperless and there's actually going to be no money, what is Bitcoins and what does that mean? So we're going to talk about digital currency for a 2-part series on Bitcoins. So that should be really interesting. Okay, so that's going to be super fun. And then we're going to have Miss Allison Simon. She's going to be on Friday, October 30th, which happens to be this one's birthday.
Oh!
So we're going to have her KiddieNomics session on her birthday. So that's going to be fun. So Friday, October 30th, we are going to talk about sole proprietorship. So if you do want to start your business, there's different levels of business ownership. And the first level is a sole proprietorship. And how do you do that? So we're going to talk about that for you guys because we want you to be financially literate in all aspects, right? We want you to be well-rounded kids, right? That's going to be awesome. So that is it for the upcoming weeks for October. So listen, we always want to hear from you. We want to help you or help us create tiny financial literacy ambassadors so that you guys can share your knowledge with not only yourselves so that you can make better educated decisions and choices when you get older, but to also help your community, your friends, and your family so that they can become financially literate. So tell me what it is that you would like us to also talk about on KiddieNomics. Is there something, a topic that you always wanted us to cover and you don't see it coming up in the upcoming weeks? Please reach out to me and let me know. You can always send me an email at kiddienomics101@gmail.com. And please, 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 we do ask that if you could please like and follow us and share on
Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok.
So please remember, each KiddieNomics session is always recorded and we upload every KiddieNomics webinar. So tonight will probably be uploaded by 9 o'clock tonight. But I upload them every Friday evening. So in a couple of hours, you'll see this webinar on our YouTube channel, as well as all of our past webinars that we've hosted on KiddieNomics. So if you missed something or you heard me mention another webinar and you're like, oh, I missed that one, like Online Money Smarts, or when we talked about resume writing with Miss Jen, that was her last one. Please go back and catch it on our KiddieNomics YouTube channel, all right? So you can always be caught up and up to date. Or if you felt like you missed something in this webinar, you can always watch it on the YouTube channel so that you can always get all the information that you think that you may have missed. All right. So
I'm asking for your TikTok account.
Oh, KiddieNomics. it's always KiddieNomics on TikTok. Okay, so disclaimer: we have no videos up yet because Mickey is supposed to do a video and she hasn't done it yet. So, but please, we will be posting some videos soon. I'm going to be learning these dances. There's so many.
You're gonna learn faster and faster and faster.
Yes, I'm gonna start learning these dances.
You have a great teacher, Miss Stacy.
I do. She's on her TikTok account. She has like 300 and something people. So.
Oh my goodness.
She's a great teacher for TikTok. So, but anyway.
I also teach her the renegade.
The renegade dance. That one's a hard one, but she did. Anyways, thank you everybody for joining this week on KiddieNomics. Thank you, Miss Jen, for coming on KiddieNomics and sharing your knowledge. We always appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
Webinar today. Everybody have a good week. We will see you next Friday at 5.
Bye.
We're gonna stop sharing. There we go. All right.